What's up, Spud Nation, and welcome to a very special show. It is our final episode of W7's Full Court Press. Looking forward to talking to two of the greats on the girls' side of things in Wisconsin sports scene. We have our man, Gary Whipperman, the guy behind W7. And along with him today, we have Brady Peterson. The man is a wealth of knowledge. He's a writer for Girls Preps Hoops Wisconsin. Let's bring them in today. Gentlemen, welcome. Happy Friday. Hope everyone's having a great day.
Hey, Craig. Happy Friday.
Brady, how you doing, man?
Look at Brady. Brady looks like he's going to be on like Fox News or something with that background there.
Oh, Brady's looking awesome.
I'm in the city of Des Moines for the Iowa Girls State Basketball Tournament, which hopefully there's not too much background noise behind me from the PA guy. But lucky enough to hop up here to Sweet Level and plug in my laptop and get the show on the road.
Sweet Level, and he talks about me getting all access. Holy cow!
We know you're VIP when you're all plugged in the Sweet Level, Brady. Way to go, man.
He's a VIP for sure. Wow.
Yeah, definitely. Impressive. Well, I look forward to, Brady, every time you speak. I'm just in awe, and I look forward to listening to all the knowledge you have in the Wisconsin. Yeah, I know. We bow down to Brady. He's got it.
Don't eat all that.
The hair and everything. Look at the hair is in pure form today. He's really styling it today.
And low humidity does me service, so I gotta appreciate some snow and some cold weather. It makes me feel a little bit better about myself.
Now, Brady, do you travel around the country or just local, like Wisconsin and local surrounding states?
So over the summer, I'll travel a little bit more. Like I plan on going to Texas in May. But for the most part, for the high school season, I'm in Wisconsin. I'll pop around a little bit to other places around the Midwest. But this week just happens to be the Iowa State Tournament, and it's one of my favorite events of the year, and it's run really well. So I've been here for third year now is where I'm at, and I've loved it ever since I came here 2 years ago. So I come back every year now. It's awesome. A blast.
Yeah. Gary, excellent stream last night. Heck of a game with the Winneconne Wolves and Xavier.
Yeah, it was a very physical, competitive game. I hate to even bring it up because I've been saying it, I've been trumpeting it all year, but Winneconne, the free throws finally caught up with them. 10 of 24 from the line last night. It's tough to win games like that. But you know what? They never stopped fighting. They never stopped working. I was so proud of those kids. And Troy Buell has done such a great job this year in turning that program into, they're going to be a perennial, power. They really just are. That sophomore class. Next year, my worry was, are they ready to step into onto the stage tonight? And I just didn't feel like they were quite ready. Millie Brayman had a great game. They all played really well. It just, Xavier's a tough team to prepare for and a tough team to play against. And hats off to them. It was 17-16 at the break, and I commented to Mark Maley that. Winneconne just couldn't get their offense going, and he replied, he's like, hey, Xavier's defense is really locking them down, and they got Harper needs to get 2 quick fouls in the first half, and it was tough after that because they were really out of system at that point. I used to use a volleyball term, and I thought they played well. I thought they competed. It's just Xavier just, it was their night, and Bryn Kroll had an unbelievable night. It seemed like every time they needed a basket, every time they needed a big point, Bryn came through and delivered for them.
Great point about Harper. When she was out, you could tell the difference for Winneconne. At the end of the game, Winneconne had their opportunities. Missed layups. That hurt them. Obviously, the free throws, it was a huge, huge issue. But at times, the Wolves, they showed their youth, which, I don't want to be the guy like, oh, we'll take this and learn from it and get better, but this might be one of those learning experiences.
Moral victory guy, right?
Yeah. No one loves the moral victories, but this might be one of those that they can carry over into the offseason and learn from this.
I think so. And Maley mentioned that last night too. He said, he said the first thing they're going to do is show that film, for from tonight's game to these kids for next year and get them, fired up and ready to go. And hey, 23-4 on the year. I mean, that's impressive.
Heck of a year.
I think the expectation was to maybe win 15, 16 games and to come out with 23 wins and make it to a sectional semifinal. I look for this team to advance next year. Now, they're going to miss Millie Brayman. They really will miss her next year. She doesn't necessarily show up with the stat line, but, I mean, she was the unquestioned leader of this team, and kind of everything kind of revolved around her. So that's going to be a little different next year. The Hafner kids did such a nice job defensively on Jada Kaiser. Jada got 5 quick points to start the game. I don't think she scored the rest of the game. The defense was so good from Xavier that I was really, really impressed with Xavier's defense. Joy Kroll had a fantastic game. The Peterson kid fought hard inside against Nice and Grace Mitchell. Both I thought she did really, really well. So hats off to Xavier. They did a great job handling the press from Winneconne as well. I just can't say enough good things about the Xavier team. I hope they move on. It'd be great to see them back at state.
They got plenty of open looks. They found that corner 3, and they just started exploiting
that was Bryn Kroll. Every time she'd find her way into that corner and was able to capitalize every time. It was really impressive. The game that she played was very, very impressive.
As someone who is openly rooting for Winneconne, I wish they would have found that pick and roll between Grace and Harper a lot sooner in the game, because it looked uncoverable when they finally got to it.
Yeah, we saw it a couple times there in the mid-second half, and it seemed like they kind of had a little 2-man game going. And then for whatever reason, I know that Grace was looking for Harper, and Harper didn't cut to the basket, and Grace overthrew it. I think that kind of messed up their rhythm a little bit, and I think they kind of got away from that. But it's a really cool thing when it works, and when it worked last night, it was great.
Yeah. Just figured I'd start off with Winneconne. It was a heck of a game. Great job on the call last night, Gary. And
thank you.
As always, you do a fantastic job. It was a really fun game to watch, even though the scoring output wasn't huge. Like you said, good basketball, a lot of hard fought, like every basket, hard fought. So it was nice. It was a good game.
We had a lot of parents come over and thank us, and the kids. I went and hugged certainly all the Winneconne kids. Just when you spend that kind of time with them, you really get close to them, and it's hard to see the kids upset like that. The good thing is Millie was the only senior, so the rest of them are coming back, and they'll come back, I think, stronger than ever. But I was really proud of all of them, and the Xavier kids, the Xavier coaches came over and thanked us for all that we do. I mean, it was really great. And I will just put a plug in real quick. So we had planned on, obviously, the Winneconne game Saturday at the sectional finals, but of course that's not going to happen. So we're open for Saturday, but there will be WIA fees involved if somebody wants us to do their game. I've had a couple folks reach out already, but if you're interested, you can email me info@productionsw7.com and let me know. We'll probably look until about 5 o'clock or so today, because I have to put a request into the WIA. If we don't get anything, I'll probably just go to a couple games tomorrow and just watch. So we'd love to do another game, but if it doesn't work out, that's fine too.
Some fantastic matchups in front of us this weekend, Gary.
Yeah,
it's going to be good basketball being played. All right, steer the ship, my man. Where do you want to go with this?
Well, we can start the way we always do, is go D5 and work our way down to D1, and look at our picks. I don't know about you, Brady. My bracket's shot to hell right now after this week. I mean, it's It doesn't look great, but you know what? We talked about this, and it was, let's not just go chalk. Let's take some chances and see if we can see some things that might happen. But and I wouldn't say it's gone chalk, but I mean, I think a lot of the teams we expected to win have won, starting in D5. Now, I will blow my own horn on this one. I did say I thought that Eau Claire Emmanuel Lutheran would be a tough out, especially considering their volleyball run this year. And for the one time I'll get to say it the whole show, I was right on that. They're actually going to the sectional finals against Owen Withy, and Brady, you picked Owen Withy, so it's kind of you versus me tomorrow. That game's at Eau Claire North at 5:00.
Yeah, I mean, this Sectional 1 in D5 is really interesting because it kind of encompasses a lot of that northwest Wisconsin area. And for whatever reason, those Northern Lights teams tend to not always fare the best up there. Eau Claire Emmanuel Lutheran 1 was very, very good. They beat a couple really good teams to get where they're at. Solon obviously dominated the Northern Lights Conference this year. They beat a New Auburn team who was really, really good, who I thought very highly of. And they just came out flat in that game, and Eau Claire Emmanuel Lutheran took care of business. And then also beat a really good Webster team from the Lakeland Conference up there as well. So it hasn't been necessarily as easy as some of these other paths have been for some of these teams in the sectional in the past. But I mean, hey, they took care of business. Then in the bottom half, I mean, Owen Withy, they have the experience. They've been to sectional final before. They got run over a little bit last year by Clear Lake, but now they have a chance to right some of those wrongs in Superior this year.
Yeah, and on the other side, a 3 and a 4 in the no, wait a minute. I'm sorry. It's a 1 and a 3. So I think Brady, we both kind of set assumptions hard to overlook just because of their pedigree and their history with such, high level basketball. And here they are again back at the sectional finals against Sevastopol. Sevastopol, the 3 knocked out Oneida Nation. The 4, the 1 and the 2 went out early. Of course, the 1 being Lena, which was a huge surprise to see them get knocked out, and the 2 being Gillette. A 3 seed Sevastopol moves on to the championship against Oneida Nation. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah. So Lena, not winning a postseason game this year after being as close as they were to winning a state title last year is about as surprising as it gets this year. And for the teams outside of them, they took advantage of the opportunity they had. Even New Lutheran had a really close game with Oneida Nation to make it to a sectional this week. Then they came up just short. But then Sevastopol, they've always been a really, really solid team up in northeast Wisconsin. They actually had a very good freshman that was going to come up, but a football hire from the University of Wisconsin kind of changed where she was going. She's at Edgewood now. But Naomi Ricola has been amazing for them the last 4 years, and her getting a chance to punch their ticket to state against a really, really good Assumption team, who I think is probably the overwhelming favorite in that one, is going to be a pretty cool experience for her. But I was a little bit surprised by that Pacelli Assumption game. Pacelli has beaten Assumption a handful of times these past couple of years, and I think they beat him again this year by about 8, and they just did not really compete very well in that game, losing by about 20. But just goes to show like how good Assumption is and kind of their resolve. Teams that have been there before and kind of understand the ebbs and flows of a postseason game where you lose, you go home. They just probably handle that a little bit better. That's why they're playing for another opportunity to go to state.
The section 3 and 4, just quickly, Elevestrom and Barneveld. I think we both are pretty high on Barneveld. I know John is high on that Barneveld team. They beat Schulzberg 48-35, and then the other side is Albany, Monticello, and Lourdes Academy. 2 really good games. I think we're going to get some really, really good basketball out of both of those games. It'll be interesting to see what happens. The Albany Monticello game against Lourdes Academy is at 7:00 at Beaver Dam, and the Elevestrom and Barneveld game is at 1:00. So both at each end of the day, but should be a good day of basketball in D5.
Yeah, for sure. And I was really high on Elevestrom coming into this run. Again, like I've probably said it like a million times now, but the turnaround that they've had from last year to this year is unbelievable. Avery Glenn's has been phenomenal for them, and they're going to face a really, really tough challenge in Barneveld to get to a state tournament. And those Six Rivers teams tend to really clean up at the D5 level, whether it was Argyle, Pecatonica last year,
they do
last year and this year, Barneveld this year.
Blackhawk for years.
Yep. 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 The Six Rivers teams just are really, really well drilled, and their programs are always really solid. And I want to give a quick shout out to Lourdes Academy because Gary and I did a little bracket, write up podcast, and I don't feel like we probably gave them as much credit as we probably should have, considering
I don't think we did either.
State championship. Yeah, considering I've been picking Sheboygan Lutheran to win the D5 state title since October, and they just come in and beat a fully healthy Sheboygan Lutheran team. And as history shows with Sheboygan Lutheran, if you beat Sheboygan Lutheran in the postseason, you're probably winning a state title. Now, will that be the case for Lourdes Academy? I mean, they're not as good as those Laconia teams and Randolph team that beat them the last 3 years. But I mean, hey, if history holds, Lourdes Academy is going to be hosting a state championship here in a little over a week.
Well, I'd say slow your roll on that a little bit.
For sure. I mean, yeah, obviously have a really good Albany Monticello team coming up tomorrow, who again should be a prohibitive favorite in that game. I mean, reigning state champion from a year ago, have just about everybody back from last year's team outside of Alana Durchie, really, and they're just playing really good basketball right now. But just a real quick tidbit on Madison Country Day. Another team who didn't win a single game last year. They get a freshman named Zamara Gary, and they come in as a 10 seed, and it's a little bit of a weaker sectional on this half of it for sure. But the fact that they made it to a sectional is pretty cool for them, and getting the right to play a team like Albany Monticello really test your mettle against one of the best teams in D5, if not the best team in D5. So shout out to them.
Hey, Gary, before you move on, it looks like Lourdes won by 1 point over Sheboygan Lutheran. Do we know if it was there dramatics involved? Was it a last-second shot? Do we know anything like that?
I don't know, but I mean, I'm with Brady in that. I got to tell you, I was in a sell position on Lourdes when they played Winneconne. I just don't think they played very well in that game. We did that game over at Lourdes. I thought they couldn't. They had really struggled with Winneconne's press, so I wasn't necessarily a buyer on those guys. I'll upgrade it to a hold now after knocking off Sheboygan Lutheran. So we'll see. How it goes. Tomorrow against again, like Brady said, I mean, a really, really good Albany Monticello team, and for me, I got Albany Monticello winning that one, and I've got Barneveld winning the other half of the bracket. So we'll see, but I think they're going to have a Herculean task, Lourdes as well, against a really, really good Albany Monticello team.
Fair enough.
Let's move to D4. Brady, give me who are your picks on the 4 games for D5.
So I've really liked Durand, Arkansas. That top half of that bracket in Sectional 1 was really good. I mean, when you have Regis as a 6 seed and LMA Cooper's on that team who puts up 40 against Spash on the road, that's just a really good sectional. And Durand, Arkansas has been really, competitive all year. They've been really solid defensively. I mean, they gave up 22 points in their sectional semifinal game against Colfax, which, obviously that's pretty good. And then, on the bottom half, I was a big fan of Cameron McDonald. Even, they lose LMA Cooper when she transfers to Regis. Obviously, new coach there as well. But somehow they managed to find their way back to a sectional final again with a 1-point win over Cameron. But I'm probably going to take Durand, Arkansas, just because of how steady they've been all year. And they've done really, really well against those Clover Belt teams, too. So I'd probably take Durand, Arkansas on that one. And then on the other side...
Great pick, but wrong. Great pick, but wrong.
Yeah.
The Max, we'll see the Max at the Resch again, like we always do. So they'll be back. They'll find out a way to beat that Durand, Arkansas team. So I love your pick, but it's wrong. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's go on the other side. St. Mary Catholic and Manitowoc Lutheran. That's going to be a really interesting game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, 2 Big East North teams. They split the regular season series, so we got a rubber match here for a trip to state on the line. I think St. Mary Catholic's a little bit better. I think their top end talent is a bit better than Lutheran's is. I think Emily Vogel is really, really good. She's a 5'10", kind of wing guard, but she handles the ball a lot for them, and she's a really good passer. Autumn Crow's been really, really good for them. I mean, they've been bringing Lucy Norville off the bench, about a 5'10", 5'11" wing.
In by 3, and they won last night by 5. So in a close game, I kind of like them, but I'm with you. I still think St. Mary Catholic is going to be tough to beat. I'm not a huge fan of Manitowoc Lutheran's path here. Now, I will say sorry to Natalie Davidson, our intern, who's a big fan of Kewanee, 68-63 in overtime last night. So tough game. Now, these two teams played. St. Mary Catholic and Manitowoc Lutheran played on January 17th. And St. Mary Catholic won that game 71-63. They pulled away in the second half. The leading scorer, Noli Anderson for St. Mary Catholic, had 21. Emily Vogel had 15. And Autumn Crow had 14. For Lutheran, the Melhorn kid had 20. Kraus had 19. And Ermis had 14. Might be a pretty good game tomorrow, those two.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
I said it might be a pretty good game tomorrow night. Manitowoc Lutheran and St. Mary Catholic. Again, if it's close, I like Manitowoc Lutheran to take it. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, those rubber matches, I mean, those are honestly a coin flip. Both those teams know what it takes to beat each other. They've only seen each other, especially those senior classes, already 8 times. At least in these last 4 years. So I think it's probably going to be pretty chippy, probably pretty physical, as most of these, late game postseason games are, especially with the trip to state on the line. I'm sure it's going to be a very, very loud environment. And, if whoever's there, I'm sure they're going to remember it for a while.
Yeah, that was I did mention it was the rubber match because they also played December 5th, and Manitowoc Lutheran won that game 76-72. So 2 games, they've both been tight. I expect no different tomorrow as those two square off for a chance to go to the Rush. So excited for both programs. It should be a fun day. All right, let's move on to sectional 3 and 4 in Division 4. Aquinas, Cuba City. I mean, where do you start?
Yeah, I mean, they probably play each other in the postseason like each of the last 4 years, it feels like. I mean, Aquinas is always obviously, really, really good. Dinarski has them rolling again after kind of a bit of an up and down start against some really good teams. They didn't quite get some wins against teams they maybe could have early in the year, but they've finished the year really strong. I think the only loss they had after like December 5th or something crazy like that was to Assumption a couple weeks ago. And then Cuba City, Olivia Olson's back, which is the biggest thing for them. Obviously with her, she's the vocal leader on the court. She's a kid who they've trusted heavily with the ball in her hands the last 3.5+ years. Just her being out there is just probably a sense of calm that they probably need in a game like this, especially against a team like Aquinas, who is obviously with Sammy Davis, very athletic, very well drilled, very aggressive defensively. Having a kid like Olivia who can handle the ball in pressure situations, she's going to do a load of good for them. And obviously, on top of all that, just having her back is really cool. Didn't get to play most of her senior year. I believe her first game back was down in Illinois, and I believe I did hear that she did hurt her knee again, but it's nothing too serious to the point where she can't play. So having her back is really cool, and that she gets one more chance here at this whole gold ball thing. So happy for her and happy for her family.
It should be fun. Now, I will say Cuba City's path, they've destroyed everybody that they've played. They beat Parkview by 60. They beat Mineral Point by 30, and then they beat Belleville last night by 30. Aquinas, it's hard to go against Dave Dinarski just with his history at the state tournament. I don't know. On paper, I would say it's Cuba City, but these things rarely go the way the paper says that it should. So should be interesting. But I think Cuba City gets it, but I think it's closer than maybe what people think. And then the other half. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say just solely for the fact that they have Ashley Rowe and Olivia Olson in that backcourt, I don't think that the full court press that Aquinas is probably going to throw at them is going to be as effective as it would be against a team like Neillsville, who doesn't have a kid like Olivia Olson in their backcourt. I think Cuba City would, at least as long as my brain is working properly, that would be my pick. But then again, you can never really bet against an Aquinas team. So we're getting a really, really good team to go to state out of this sectional, regardless of who wins.
Yeah, no, agree 100% on that. And then the other sectional 2, Westfield and the Prairie Schools. So Showens kid last go around here. She's going to Northern Michigan next year. Hadley, is that right? Is it Hadley?
Hattie.
Hattie Showen. So they beat Partyville 63-52. They're the 3 seed, and then Prairie School is just JJ Barnes, of course, is phenomenal for the Prairie School. She's a senior this year too. Is that right?
Yep. Going off to Marquette here over the summer.
Marquette, she's going to Marquette. Yeah, love it. So Prairie School and Westfield. Thoughts on that one? That's a 1:00 game tomorrow in Waterloo.
Yeah, I mean, for the Prairie School, I mean, they've kind of just run through everybody in the state of Wisconsin that's been lined up against them. I was actually kind of surprised the score that came in for their Cambridge game last night was just a 10-point game. I figured that would be a little bit of a wider score margin.
Doug Pickens knows how to play and knows how to game plan in these playoff games.
Yeah, for sure. And, on the Westfield side, I think it's going to be very much a Hattie Showen, how much can you create and kind of how much easy offense can we get? Because the Prairie School is going to get easy offense just by nature of giving the ball to JJ and saying, hey, you can do you can kind of do whatever you want here, and you're going to probably get a good result. Yep. And so my guts is telling me that the Prairie School probably gets through here by double digits. But if Hattie Showen has a really, really good game, I mean, and we're within 10 points with 6 minutes to go. I mean, it's anybody's bet.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. And then let's see. So let's move on to D3. Sectional 1, Baldwin, Woodville, and Elkmount at Eau Claire North tomorrow, 1:00. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I love Baldwin Woodville solely for the fact that if you were to just go through WisSports, just look at their scores, like they hold the other teams just a hilariously low amount of scoring. I mean, if you look at the games they played in the postseason so far, I mean, they held Barron to 41, they held Prescott to 26, then they hold St. Croix Central to 35. Like their defense is always going to give them a shot in this sectional. It's why they went to state last year. Their defense is really, really good. Maggie Jensen's such a good, defensive anchor on the back line for them as opposed. And they just have a lot of kids who know their role. Haley Jordan and Haley Coda were both on the team that made it to state last year. There's just a lot of experience there. They know what it takes to get there, and they've just been really solid again all year. I said before the year, I really, really like this team to get out of this sectional, and they're a game away from it now. But Elkmount, obviously, with Ellie Shizik's a great lead guard, who's going to be at UW Lacrosse next year. Then Allie Roble and Allie Roder are two really, really good wings for them. Very good two-way wings. I believe it was Allie Roble who had 27, I believe, in their game against Bloomer. But I mean, they're another team who's just been on the cusp of going to state for a while. If it's going to be any year for them, it's probably going to be this one. But I just don't see Baldwin Woodville giving up more than 45 at most. And at that point, it's just going to be if their offense can just put enough points on the board to get them over the hump.
Yeah, the other side is we talked about Xavier already. Xavier defeated Winneconne, and they're going to play undefeated. The only undefeated team left in the state, Wittenberg-Burnham Wood, 27-0, who beat Freedom last night by 18. I beg your pardon. So congratulations to those guys. They just all they do is win, I guess.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, they're really, really good in that Central Wisconsin North Conference. I mean, they were good last year, too. And they got over that freedom hurdle that they've had for a little bit here. Milena Granquist, Rory Salveson are about as good of a duo as you can find in D3. They just kind of play a little bit out of the way, so people really don't get to see them or, hear about them as much as kids from either the Fox Valley, Milwaukee area, that kind of thing. And, on the bottom half with Xavier, I mean, Xavier's played about as tough a schedule as you can have all year.
They have.
Our bracket show that we had a little while. Maybe, I mean, it feels like a month ago now. Just the schedule that they draw for themselves. I mean, they're going to have a handful of losses, more than most teams in their sectional. I picked them to come out of here, and I still feel pretty confident about that. They just have so many kids that they can rely on, and they've thrown them against some of the best teams in the state, so nothing's really going to stun them. I think this is probably going to be a really good game, and, I think the same thing with that Winneconne game. I mean, and like I've talked about before, I mean, teams who've been there and done that and kind of understand the ebbs and flows of how these postseason games go and, can kind of ride the highs and not get too low on the lows are the ones that are going to, find their way through. And I think Xavier's got a really good chance of doing that.
Brady, what can you tell me about Wittenberg-Burnham Wood? I know Winneconne struggled a little bit with the pressure that Xavier could put on them. Xavier also seemed to struggle once Harper got going with a big, they seemed to struggle with the big a little bit. But Xavier is all hustle, all heart, and they kept getting to
Absolutely.
loose ball after loose ball after loose ball. Every rebound, if it was a 50-50 rebound, Xavier got to it. So
That's right.
Is Wittenberg kind of along those same lines? Is it just going to be a super athletic game, or what are we looking at between these two teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be kind of if Wittenberg Burnham can kind of assert themselves in that game early, because Melina Granquist is a really, really good 6 foot kind of 4 or 5 kid for them
Yeah.
who can play inside and out. And then Royce Allison's a bigger guard who, is kind of a little bit of a mismatch for anyone you kind of put on her just because she's about 5'10" and really athletic and really strong. So it's going to be, wherever that game starts is probably where it's going to end. And I just don't know with Wittenberg Burnhamwood if they have enough kids who can handle the ball through that Xavier press. Because, I mean, even though she doesn't start, I think Haley Hafner is the perfect example of kind of what they are. She's a really, really just scrappy little guard and comes off the bench and just does a lot of really, really good stuff for them defensively and can get downhill offensively really well. And there's just so many of those weapons that it's just going to be really, really tough for Wittenberg Burnhamwood to keep up with that. I think that we probably see a game that's a little bit more up and down just because Xavier asserts their game a little bit more so than Wittenberg Burnhamwood does.
All right.
I have nothing to add because I think he's right on the money about everything he just said. I mean, especially the Hafner kid. I was so impressed with her last night, Haley Hafner, and how in her defense and just how gritty she is. So I was really, really impressed with.
If Xavier's
with her.
hitting threes like they did last night, they're going to be a difficult out for sure.
All right, let's move on. D3. Well, Brady, I think it's kind of been building to this all year. I mean, the question was, hey, how can Laconia, how will they compete in D3? Well, the answer is pretty darn good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They rolled East Troy last night by 36, 71-35, and they'll take on Edgerton. Edgerton beat Prairie du Chien, which is another really tough team, 49-36. I really like Chris Jenny and what he's done at Edgerton and what he's built there. He has over 100 wins there now, and I think under 20 losses in his run at Edgerton. I like the Edgerton kids. Brady, you and I saw them when they played Brookfield East down at Edgerton. But it's a tall task against this Laconia team. And I really like, of course, Chris Morgan and just the program he's built there. It's just phenomenal. Laconia.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to bet against a team who's really, again, like I've talked about it probably like 4 or 5 times now, but just teams who just understand kind of how these games go and just, know kind of how to handle the highs and lows of these postseason games when, obviously there's going to be really loud in there from the Edgerton side. And, Laconia just doesn't really they just don't really get rattled. And that starts with their backcourt with Aubrey Leonard. Aubrey Leonard is just such a steady kid. And she just creates so many good shots for everybody on that Laconia team. And it's just really hard to handle that if you're not used to it. And, there's just so many kids that can hurt you, whether it's Ava Engel from inside and out. Tierney Madigan can probably put up 20 points this game if she really wants to. Aubrey Leonard gets downhill. And then you have the Morgan sisters who can space the floor, and Finley is another one who can just go off and score 20 if you're not careful. And, it's just, again, I mean, Gary and I talked about it with this Edgerton team. Like, they might just be a year away from kind of getting over the hump just because there's just such a juggernaut in the way for them. But, I mean, it's one of those things where, Edgerton wins it. Like, that's something that we're probably going to talk about for a long time. And, that's why you play the games. I mean, nothing's ever guaranteed. So, and got to roll the ball out and just see what happens.
Well, I really like Marty Redman at Edgerton. Brady, are you surprised that game's at Evansville? I mean, that's a haul for Laconia to get down there. That's right in Edgerton's backyard.
Yeah, no, it is. And, I saw a lot of the sectionals getting moved around. And, when I was going through these and, just kind of seeing where all these games are taking place and kind of seeing if there was going to be streams for any of these, like when I came across that, I'm like, that is a real hike for Laconia. But then again, like a team like that, I mean, they've been faced with as much adversity as you could probably, have for a team that's won 2 straight titles. And, might as well have to travel a little bit, down.
Well, they went to Florida and did pretty well down there. So
exactly.
It's just, for those of you that don't know, Laconia is in Rosendale, which is right outside of Fond du Lac, and they're going to have to haul down to Evansville, which is again right in Edgerton's backyard on the in the southern part of the state. But I'm with you. I don't see this team. This team doesn't get rattled. I mean, they've been through too much together. They've been in too many big games together. But I think it'll be a fun one. I still think Laconia, until somebody is able to knock them off, I just don't see it. And speaking of somebody knocking them off, one of the only people who did that this year was Kettle Moraine Lutheran. And boy, did I miss on that. How about the Lady Dutch getting the win last night, 59-49. Congratulations, Coach Ketterhagen and the Lady Dutch moving on to sectional finals against a really good Catholic Memorial team. If we don't have a sectional final game to do tomorrow, I may just go and watch that game at Brown Deer tomorrow afternoon. I think it'll be worth the price of admission.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really high in Kettle Moraine Lutheran all year. I mean, all they did all year was beat really good teams from every single division you can probably think of. And Oostburg, I think we talked about it on the podcast that we did. I mean, when you have a kid like Kinsley Ketterhagen who can just make tough shots and kind of get you over that hump, whether you're just kind of having a scoring drought or we're kind of in a deadlock here late, like that's a kid who can just go get you a basket in any way you can possibly imagine. And again, I talked about it before too. I mean, those Oostburg kids have, they've kind of been stunned a little bit in the past in the postseason. Riley and Addie, I mean, they lost the game to Kewaskum a couple of years ago when they were freshmen. Then Kewaskum ended up going on and winning state. Then last year they lose to Dominican in regionals. I mean, they have been chiseled by the fires of the postseason. And they go to Port Washington and get a really big win for them. And I mean, it's one of those games where you look at it, before the year when you see the sectionals kind of shape out, and you're like, man, like that's going to be a really tough one to have, as a sectional semifinal game, and both those teams are going to be two of the best teams in the state. That's an argument for a different day, I suppose. But congratulations to Oostburg. That's awesome for them. And then on the bottom half, Catholic Memorial, my alma mater, back in a sectional final again after losing their head coach to Brookfield Central, get a new head coach right back where they were last year. That senior class is really resilient. Jenna Welsh has been really, really good for them. She's going to be a UW lacrosse kid. Holly Colts has been really good in her increased role this year. And they've played some really good teams all year in the Classic 8. And I think that they were prepared for some of these games against these really good teams that they were playing, whether it was St. Cat's down south in Racine Kenosha area, and then St. Thomas More, who has a really, really good year this year and had a really nice post as well. I mean, they can just figure it out, and that's what they did. And here we are with an Oostburg Catholic Memorial sectional final game.
That's gonna be a fun game. I feel like it's really gonna be a fun game. It's almost kind of youth versus experience. That Catholic Memorial team is really it's a veteran team with Colts and Welsh both. So should be a fun one tomorrow. That was at Brown Deer at 1:00. Let's see, is that it for D3? Is that all of them? Did I get that? Yep, I did. Okay, all right, moving on. D2. Feel like the slave driver here. Okay. Rice Lake and Shawano. Let's go bottom up. So Shawano beat Marinette last night. I really like Marinette, but Leah Nordine's hard to bet against. And she kind of took that game over in the second half, and they're moving on to the sectional finals tomorrow at Mosinee against Rice Lake. And again, should be a great game. I know the Rice Lake team's got a superstar kid there as well. So it's Nordine versus her tomorrow. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, I got to see both these teams this year. I mean, Shawano, I saw them play at Xavier and got a win there for the first time in a long time. And having a kid like Leah just makes your life so much easier because she's a 3-level scorer. She's 6'1". She's really athletic, and some of those auxiliary kids there have just been really good as well. They just do so many good things together, and they understand their roles. And they played really well in the Bay Conference this year. They've beaten West Appear. They got Xavier, so I mean they compete with the best teams up there. That was a really low scoring first half in that Marinette game. I think it was like 16-13 at halftime. And Toronto was down. So they had a really, really good second half offensively and kind of pushed themselves over the top. Then on that top half, I mean, that Rice Lake-Lakeland game was one that I had my eye on. Lakeland's really good, obviously, another team with a lot of pedigree. Been to state a couple of times in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And, Rice Lake is, again, Addie Shepley is a absolute superstar. She's amazing. For them, I mean, the biggest thing has always been kind of, can these role kids kind of step up and make plays when they need to? And, that's exactly what they did. Harper Schomer and Emily Colleen Christina made really big shots when they needed. I mean, Anna Lipke played really well. Sydney Schradel had a really solid game. And, then you have your two bigs, Addison Schmidt, their 6'1" post kid, who's probably one of the best rebounders in the state. She just attacks the glass like no one I've really seen in the state this year. And then, when you have a kid that, like Addie Shepley, 6'3", handles the ball, she can, defend, a kid like Christina Ouimet and contest her shot, even though she's, has one of the highest releases in the state. There's just a lot of things that she can do that most kids can. And, having that matchup with Rice Lake and Shawano is going to be really fun because it's two of the best 26s in the state. And both of them are going to go play Power 4 basketball. And, obviously Leah's committed to Wisconsin, and Addie, has plenty of options where she can go play at the next level, at the Power 4 level. So Mosinee is going to be a very interesting spot to see two kids that you'll probably be watching on TV in a couple of years.
Well, and I've got a soft spot for Lakeland just because, they play in a part of the state where they don't get a lot of attention. And what a great run for Christina Ouimet and Melissa Ouimet, head coach. I think this is her last year at Lakeland. Also, Saylor and Allie Timmerman, and then Bobby Lee as well. I'm really fond of all those kids. So wish them the best. We'll see Lakeland in softball this year, this spring. So I'm looking forward to catching up with Saylor again before she heads off to college next year at Arkansas for women's softball. So congratulations, Rice Lake. So Rice Lake and Shawano, and then the other half. I think we both kind of were pretty high on West De Pere, and Coach Aberray didn't let us down. They moved on last night with a huge win over Menasha, 72-27. But they're going to get Waukesha West, Jordan Fensky, and crew tomorrow. That game is at Fondy, and I've already gotten a request from one of the players at Waukesha West. Could we come up and do that game? So we'll see. But West De Pere and Waukesha West are on the 2 versus the 3. Congratulations, West knocked off the number 1 seed, the Berlin Eisenhower, last night. They won it pretty handily by 18. So West De Pere and Waukesha West, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, first thing I want to point out is just I think the biggest surprise, even with the Lena loss in D5, was Menasha going on the road and beating Beaver Dam. Yes. I was stunned by that one. I believe I actually had Beaver Dam coming out of the sectional. Obviously that is not going to happen.
I had West De Pere coming out of the sectional, just putting that out there, by the way.
Yeah. And but anyway, West De Pere, it was just more of a matter for them these last couple years just getting healthy. I mean, Mia Racine and Ella Francois either missed all of last year in Ella's case or most of last year in Mia's case with an ACL injury, and them being back is so massive for them. Having another backcourt mate for Faith Walder and Ella Francois, and adding a 6'1" kid who's going to be playing at UW Stevens Point next year in Mia Racine is just so big for them. And being able to be healthy and get this run is really, really cool for them and Coach Aberray, because they've really deserved it. They've been really good for a while. They just kind of ran into some really good teams. On the bottom half with Waukesha West, I mean, they came into the postseason, or at least into seeding, with 8 wins. I believe they were 8-13 at the time. And obviously, have a little bit more than that now after beating Grafton, who I picked to go to a sectional final here.
Same.
Yep. I mean, when you have a kid like Jordan Fensky, you always give yourself a shot. And, she's been really good for them these past couple games, and this is going to be her 3rd sectional final she's played in. Lost the first 2 to Union Grove, but have a chance to go to a state tournament as a senior. With everything she's going through and how awesome that family is, I think they deserve it. They're going to have. I
agree 100% on that. I'm with you 1,000. I really love Jordan, and I love what how tough she is, and it's been a hard luck run for them. I think they're going to run into some problems with West De Pere tomorrow. Faith, that backcourt, Walder and Francois, is so good, and then like you talked about Mia Racine underneath. I mean, she's a beast underneath.
Yeah, I mean that West De Pere team is just so deep. I mean, even Madison Bergeron too is going to be playing at
Bergeron too. Yep.
I believe. Yep. I mean, there's just so many weapons that they have, and they are as good as anyone. If Waukesha West is going to find a way through there, they're probably going to have to find some really, really good guard play. And for teams that have been able to press them, they've had some issues this year. Like Muskego really, really frustrated them both times that they played. And I think if they're going to find a way through, it's going to be really, really tough for them to. Just battle through some of the defensive pressure that West De Pere can throw at you. But then again, I didn't pick them to win a game. So what do I know? Like, I don't know anything. So
Same.
So who knows? But I think that should be a pretty fun one. And I think I'm happy for those Waukesha West kids too. So
me too. I'm very happy for them.
I'm very eager to see that one.
All right, let's move on to sectional 3 and 4. West Salem, which we both had, and Edgewood, which I think we both had. Again, that's kind of been a collision course. Edgewood beat Stoughton. I got a hats off to Stoughton knocking off Milton 73-60, which actually I had Milton going out of that sectional, but obviously that's not going to happen. Congratulations, Julia Wolf and of course Coach Skemp and the Red Hawks. You can't diminish the season they've had. They've had a great run this year, they being Milton, and I'm really proud of those kids, and the coaches did a fantastic job. They'll be back next year. But Edgewood and West Salem, Edgewood just, all they do is win, right? They knocked off Stoughton by 13. So they're coming back trying to defend their state championship, and they're going to actually moving up from D3 to D2 this year, taking on a really tough West Salem team. 1 o'clock in Baraboo tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I have to eat some crow too, because I did have Elkhorn actually beating Stoughton in that regional semifinal game, which obviously didn't happen. Not only did that not happen, they end up going to a sectional semifinal. So I'm more than happy to eat crow on that one. But yeah, then in that top half, I mean, West Salem they just find a way. They may not be a team that you see most of the year. They may not be someone who you're like, wow, that's definitely a team that's going to go to state every year. But every year I've been around, they find themselves in a sectional final or they're going to state. And they're right back there playing, a really, really good Edgewood team. If they find a way to beat that Edgewood team, I'd be pretty surprised that, especially now that B. Thompson's back. That Edgewood team beat Laconia on the road without Anna Miller, and I believe it was B. Thompson's second game back. So they faced a lot of adversity in that one, and still managed to beat them in overtime. I don't know what it is about that team; they just know how to win, and it's going to be really hard to bet against them. Not just in the sectional, but in D2 as a whole, if they were to win and go to the state tournament.
Well, they got a pretty damn good head coach. Laura Stav does such a great job, and is her fingerprints are all over that program. So I think they'll be tough to beat. I'm with you on that. Good luck, West Salem, but I think it's a tall task. And then the other side, speaking of a tall task, first of all, I got to eat a lot of crow here, because I thought Wisconsin Lutheran would give Tosa East way more trouble than they did. Tosa East won that by 26. 76-50 over a really good Wisconsin Lutheran team. And then another big win for them over Whitefish Bay last night, 58-41. And that's a really good Bay team. And Tosa East, wins it by 17. They're going to take on Union Grove. I mean, Union Grove beat Whitnall by 17. Unless something crazy happens, like if Micaiah Litza were to get lost on the way to Whitefish Bay tomorrow, I mean, I don't see that game being particularly close. I think Tosa East wins that by at least 20.
Yeah, last year I believe it was halfway competitive for a little over a half before Tosa East kind of pulled away. I talked to Coach Merg a little bit before their game, and just kind of got a little bit of a feel of what they were trying to do. And they actually put Mackenzie Hawk, in man defense against Rowan Council, and that's a pretty bold decision considering that that's her 5. But she's done that before at Sun Prairie West against other high usage guards.
It's Mackenzie Hawk. Seriously, she's a beast.
Yeah, she did a really good job on Rowan Council from what I was told, and that
I don't doubt that one bit.
So good.
Yeah, I don't doubt that one bit.
Yeah, and when you have Micaiah Litza back there, she's gonna be the best kind of the court most times that she's out there, and you have such good depth with Audrey Sellinger back healthy, and Emma Close, Ellie Dupree, there's just so many good kids that they have, and Malaya Carter is one that doesn't even really play that much, but that's a really good defensive guard as well. And this team is really talented. They got to state last year and saw Notre Dame team that kind of gave them the business a little bit, and a lot of those kids have wanted to go back and kind of right the wrongs of that day for a while. And you can never underestimate how strong a power of spite is. Here they are again with a chance to go back to state and possibly win a gold ball this year.
And also the power of having been there. I think for Tosa East last year, I think it was the experience of going to state. not that they didn't want to win, not that they didn't want to, advance, but I think, just for that whole community. I mean, that's the first time at state since 1980, I think. So, I mean, for them to go there, I think, it's kind of like, me and you going to the moon a little bit. And I think they walked on the moon last year. Now I think they want to conquer the moon. So I think, to me, we're stacking up for maybe an Edgewood Tosa East final, which could be a lot of fun on Championship Saturday.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been feeling that one for a while. That's been my state tournament prediction since October. So if they can both get there and make me feel a little bit smarter than I am, I'll take it.
Hopefully we get the brackets right. That should be Edgewood should be a 1 and Tosa East or 2 or flip flop. Either it doesn't really matter either way. They're 1 and 2 unless something. Well, I don't know. With the WIA, you never know what's going to happen. So we'll see. All right, D1. Starting in sectional 1, Eau Claire Memorial beat Neenah by 20 last night. That's impressive. And then Appleton East against Stevens Point. Tough loss for Stevens Point. Appleton East, from what I was told, made a 3-pointer at the buzzer from the volleyball line to win that game against Spash last night, 75-72 in overtime.
Yeah, Ellis Sweeney banked one in from about 35 feet to win that game, and it was a wacky game pretty much all the way through. I mean, Appleton East is obviously really, really good, and they're playing their best basketball they've played probably since Emily LaChapelle graduated. And, obviously with Spash, with Jada Sorbert, I mean, she's been fantastic. If you haven't gotten to see her this year, I mean, she's unbelievably skilled. And she really gave them a shot late, got into overtime, and, just made one more shot at the end. That Appleton East team is just playing really, really good basketball. I mean, a little bit kind of fortunate with the Hortonville injuries and not having to see them healthy. But luck plays a factor in these things, and you can't really change it. I mean, you play who's in front of you. And Appleton East is back here with a chance to go to state. And on the top half, I mean, I've been.
Wait a minute, Brady. Who picked Appleton East to go to state? Do you remember who that was? I don't have it down in front of me. I don't have it written down. I was hoping you would know, but I know somebody.
Hey, to be fair, this is pitting you and me against each other, because I did take Eau Claire Memorial in the sectional.
I know.
This is kind of like a civil war we have going here. It's a good thing Craig's in between us, or we might have to reach through the screens and have a little bit of
fisticuffs.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think this is probably where this is probably a really, really, really fun game for people that decide they want to go to Mark Field for this one. Seeing kid like Tori Neubauer, Ella Sweeney, Lily Molmans, Amelia Montmarquette on the Appleton East side. I mean, all those kids are really skilled. Then you look at the Eau Claire Memorial side. I mean, I don't think people really know how good this kid is quite yet, but Nora Kling from Eau Claire Memorial is just doing nothing but putting up massive numbers the second half of the year. Now that she's really confident as a freshman, I mean, it's been night and day. I watched her debut against Spash back in November, and she probably had like 8 points, maybe 8 rebounds, something like that. But I mean, she had like 26, 27 last night against Neenah. There's just nothing they could have done with her. Again, another kid from the western part of the state that people from the more populated areas may not get to see. But Nora Kling has a chance to really make a name for herself, and I'm hoping for the best for her because I'm a big fan of hers. But this is going to be a really fun one. It may not be the sectional it's been in the past with the Neenahs with Allie Zabel or La Chapelle, Lily Hansard, the Appleton East teams, or those Hortonville teams of years past. But it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, no, agree. I'm going to stick with Appleton East. I know you're going to stick with Eau Claire Memorial. So that game's at 3 o'clock tomorrow at Marshfield. And speaking of pitting against each other, Sectional 2, you have Pewaukee. I have the little engine that could, as I call them, Kimberly. They fly under the radar. They just keep winning. They knocked off Hartford last night, 56-55 in that game. Congratulations to McKenna Christian on a fantastic career at Hartford, and Vinny Daniels does such a nice job there as well. Tough loss for them, but Kimberly able to avenge that loss from last year in the sectionals, and they get a rematch with Pewaukee. Pewaukee won that game by 13 points in, I think it was January 31st, February 1st, something like that. Can can they play with Pewaukee? I mean, Pewaukee is just destroying everybody. They beat Brookfield East by 19 points last night, and that's a really good Brook East team with the Kovacic kid and Josie Perkowski to win that by 19, and then they beat Germantown by like 40. I mean, they're just destroying everyone. And I hate to ask it this way, but does Kimberly have a chance, do you think, tomorrow?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in that first game, the real big issue was the fact that they just turned the ball over a bunch and just gave up easy baskets in transition. Because I was at that game, and I believe Kimberly was actually up like 24-18 with like 4 minutes left in the half, and somehow went into the break down like 8 or 9. Like that's just what Pewaukee can do. They just score in bunches. They score fast. And the biggest thing for Kimberly is just being able to control the ball against some of the pressure that Pewaukee is going to throw at you. They're really intense. They're very, very aggressive, and they just create turnovers, whether you like it or not. It's going to happen. With Kimberly, they're so deep. When you have kids like Haley Dulas coming off the bench, who has opportunities to play in the Big East after high school, and even last night, it goes to show how good this section was, because that Hartford team had Kimberly on the ropes. They were up with about 10 seconds to go, but Kate McGinnis gets a layup with about 5 seconds on the clock, and that's all she wrote. It's a game of inches. It's anything can happen really here. And Kimberly, if anyone's going to beat Pewaukee, it's probably them. Just with the high-end talent they have, with the kids that can put the ball in the basket. That is probably the best chance that someone has. Not that other teams can't, but if I'm ranking teams of, hey, who do I think is the most likely team to beat Pewaukee this year? Kimberly's number 1. They just have so many kids who can hurt you. And, if they get a good game from Emily Urban and Kennedy Eben in their backcourt, and, the biggest thing for them is if they can find offense in that backcourt, I think they're going to be fine.
Did Reagan Krieger play in that first game? Did Reagan Krieger play in that first game against Pewaukee?
Yeah, so she actually hurt her knee in that game. But that game was
okay.
Yep. But yeah, the biggest thing for them is if they can find offense in that backcourt, whether it's easy offense in transition or if it's them being able to get to the basket and around their initial defender. That's probably the biggest thing for them. Bentley Trout is really big for that because she did really well in that Pewaukee game. But yeah, this is one that, if you're going against Pewaukee versus the field, this is one you're sweating out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to stick with Kimberly. You stick with Pewaukee. So that'll be a 3:00 game tomorrow at Hartford. And then the section 3 and 4 in D1 went chalk for the finals. Arrowhead and Waunakee. It's at Oregon. It kind of reminds me of last year's Arrowhead Oregon game at DeForest. It's similar. Arrowhead beat Verona by 25 last night, and Waunakee beat Kettle Moraine by 10. By the way, congratulations, the Lotus kid. Keegan, is that right? Keegan's the senior on that team?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Keegan Lotus. So congratulations to her, also known as Johnny Mac's granddaughter, on a great career at Kettle Moraine. But start with, Arrowhead. I don't know how you bet against Natalie Cuso, but the thing to keep in mind still about this Arrowhead team is there's no Libby Gilmore on that team, which I think is going to be far different than it was last year. And boy, I sure like Tessa Bryant at Waunakee and the Dotzler kid at Waunakee, and Marcus Richter does a great job, as does Ron Reichley at Arrowhead. Can Waunakee come out of that sectional? Is that doable, do you think, for them? Do they have the horses to run with Arrowhead tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually think that Waunakee is probably the most dangerous offensive team in the state, just because with Tessa Bryant at the point of attack, no one's as quick as she is, so she can kind of go wherever she wants, and she's one of the better passers in the state too. The one thing that I will say about just Waunakee in general is, they're a team who they can go out to about a 15-4 run early, and if you have to play catch up with that team, you're going to have a really hard time. With Arrowhead, I don't know how likely that is when you have a kid like Natalie Cuso, because she is such a good offensive player as well. But yeah, I really like Waunakee. I've kind of had them as a sleeper team in the sectional all year, especially after I saw them play Arrowhead. They were tied with about 6 minutes to go, and Arrowhead just made a couple couple baskets, right after a timeout when it was about 47-ish, 47, and they kind of just sealed it. But I mean, Waunakee's going to give themselves a chance. It's going to be a matter of if they can take their opportunities to kind of close things out when they can. But I think it's more than possible for Waunakee to find their way into the state tournament this year.
The wild card for me for Waunakee is what kind of game does Audrey Might have tomorrow? If she can get going offensively, that's going to free up some things for Dutzler underneath and also for Tessa. And I think that could be a real challenge for Arrowhead. So I'd keep an eye on Audrey Might to see what kind of game she has tomorrow for Waunakee. So, we'll see what comes out of that one. And then the last one, Muskego and Kenosha Bradford. Muskego beat Oak Creek last night, 47-14. I mean, that's pretty stifling defense. And Kenosha Bradford beat Franklin 73-39. So Bradford, Muskego. Boy, I'm going to stick with Muskego. I've picked them kind of all postseason in that sectional 4. I don't see Bradford being able to beat them tomorrow.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, everything's real circular at the end of the day. The first game of the year, Muskego goes down to play Bradford, and they drop that one early, and then they kind of go on a bit of a tear after that. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really interesting one. Obviously, that 14-point defensive performance from Muskego is, it's kind of comical, right? It is. That doesn't happen very often. And then with Kenosha Bradford, that's a team who knows they can beat them. They played really well with Franklin last year, went to overtime in a sectional semifinal. Now they have a chance to, kind of shock the world a little bit. I don't really think that many people would be picking against Muskego. When you have a team who knows that they can beat a team like Muskego, and they see everyone kind of going against them, including myself. I think you kind of can get some weird stuff happening in a one-game situation. So I think this one's going to be a really, really interesting one. And I think it's going to get a little bit chippy because there's a lot of fiery personalities on both sides of the ball. It's going to be one that I'm probably going to watch back a couple times because there's probably going to be new stuff for me to find every step of the way.
Well, at Bradford, I think a lot of people underestimated them in softball too last year. They played Watertown and then they beat Milton, who had beaten Kaukauna in the opening round of the state or in the semifinals of the state tournament. And Bradford ended up winning the state tournament last year in softball. So I would say don't sleep on this team. But gosh, I like Muskego a lot. I think Coach Losey's done such a great job there, and I would be really, really surprised if we don't see them in Green Bay next weekend.
Yeah, that's probably where most of the guesses are probably going, is the Muskego direction. But hey, crazier things have happened, right? Again, like I've said before, it's why we play the games, and that's what makes the postseason so fun. It's bittersweet seeing some of these kids that you kind of hope to see advance go down early, whether it's the Linas or whoever it may be, but. This was going to be one where I think it's going to be real chippy, and this one is another one that might be really low scoring, where maybe a basket or two late is what wins it.
Yeah, well, that's your tournament, your sectional finals preview. And again, we don't have a game scheduled for tomorrow. If you're interested in having us come to do your game, info@productionsw7.com. Reach out to me and let me know. We'd be happy to talk about it and see what we can do about coming to do your game. But if that doesn't happen tomorrow, we'll definitely be in Green Bay starting Thursday. I'll be there all 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, at the Rush Center as we kick off the 49th WIAA Girls Basketball State Tournament.
Gary, before we sign off, can I get state champion predictions from you guys?
Sure.
Who do you guys have winning it in Division 1?
I still got Pewaukee. I've had Pewaukee over Arrowhead since before the year started, and I'm still going to stick with that one.
I'm going to stick with Kimberly. I've had them all postseason. I'm going to stick with them.
I wrote down Arrowhead. Am I far off with Arrowhead?
No, not at all. Not at all.
All right. Arrowhead is my pick. Then.
You may be the smartest one of the group. So that's that is a very good. That's a very good pick.
All right, sure. Let's head to Division 2.
I've got Edgewood over Tosa East.
Okay. I also have Edgewood. Who do you got, Gary?
Well, I was going to say West of here, but I just love Tosa East. I just love what they've done, what Coach Merg has done. I think Tosa East goes over the top this year. I think Tosa East takes it.
Awesome. Division 3, gentlemen.
Laconia.
Got to adjust mine. Got to adjust mine because I had KML in the state championship game, but Oostburg wanted to spoil my fun, so that's okay. I'll still live. But I'll swap it and just say I'll have Laconia over Oostburg.
Yeah. Division 4, Prairie School.
I mean, I've had Cuba City over the Prairie School.
Yeah.
There.
I like it.
So I'll take Cuba City.
Nice. You same way, Gary?
No. I'm going to go with Aquinas, which is, really
Nice.
out of the box a little bit here, but I'm going to go with Aquinas.
And Division 5.
It's crazy that you'd pick Aquinas as an underdog because of just knowing
Right.
the history, but I like Sammy Davis a lot. I just and of course I like Coach Donarski. I'm going to go with them. We'll see. It'll be a tough chore against Cuba City tomorrow, but you never know.
And Division 5.
D5, I'll take Albany Monticello over Assumption.
Yeah,
I took Barneveld because I don't know.
I like. Well, that's my second choice was Barneveld, but I just the Space Cowgirl is tough to bet against. Abby Hollis from Albany Monticello, so I'm going to go Albany Monticello to repeat, and Abby closes out her career with 2 gold balls.
Awesome. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Brady, always exciting to hear you speak, man. Enjoy your state tournament over there in Iowa.
Yeah, hopefully you didn't hear all the PA stuff going behind me. Hopefully it was relatively quiet for you guys.
It was
good.
pretty
It was
good.
quiet.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Great. And Gary, always a pleasure.
Well, thanks, Craig. It's been a great season.
Yes.
Regardless of what happens tomorrow, congratulations to all the teams and really all the teams in the state this year. It's a girls basketball season. It's a grind, man. I mean, it really is. And to get through it and to finish it, it's a great job by all the kids around the state. Next week is for us. I mean, yes, it's work, but it's kind of our celebration. Next week we get to go and just hang out with the kids. We'll be doing live updates all weekend long from the Rush Center. Check our social media for that. Video clips, interviews, all that kind of fun stuff. So be sure to check us out all weekend, next weekend for the state tournament, and I'm excited to go.
I want to keep you here for one more minute. You got the opportunity to watch Madden Greenway. 2 games. You got to mic her up. It was awesome. Is she the best? Is she the best player you've seen? At least live.
I'd have a hard time going against KK Arnold. KK Arnold's pretty darn good. She's definitely in the top 3. I mean, and I mean, she's everything that's advertised. I mean, and the thing that I love most about her is she really plays the game like a kid, just smiling all the time, laughing, joking with her teammates. I mean, you would think, it's a Sunday afternoon scrimmage in their gym, just goofing around. But, yes, she's competitive. Yes, she's fiery, but she's also got a really fun side to her that I really enjoyed seeing. And that Providence team, the Hope Counts also really, really good player. They're the real deal. So, but I got to tell you, I was really impressed with Notre Dame in that Saturday game, the way they hung in there. They only lost by 10. They were up at halftime. Yeah. After Providence beat Hortonville by like 40, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's Saturday going to be? And, Coach Rohde and the Tritons played hard, had the lead at the break, but just too much Madden and too much Hope Counts in the second half. But it was a lot of fun watching those kids play. And we got so many comments from the Minnesota people saying, I wish we had a W7 in Minnesota.
I bet.
For what you guys do. It was pretty cool to hear that.
Yeah, I just want to say great streams as usual. It was awesome to see, and what an
go Big Blue with that one too. So just have to throw that out there, just as a Kentucky alum.
Yeah,
have to throw that out
right.
there for
what a get for Kentucky! How great! Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch her at the next level as well. Gentlemen,
no
always
doubt
a pleasure. I hope you enjoy your Friday, your weekend. Enjoy some great basketball, and always a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a good one.
You too, Brady. Well, that was a ton of fun. Just a wealth of knowledge between those two. A lot of fun. Check out Wisconsin sectional finals here for the women, punching their ticket to the state tournament. I hope everyone has a great Friday. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend. Till we see you next time. Be great.